Well, hello and welcome back. I am your host, Stormy Norman. You probably know that by now. And I have to say, I was checking my YouTube channel last night, and I was looking at my videos, and they all had over 100 likes. Some of them had over 150, views. And if you're somebody who's watching, I appreciate it. I was blown away by that. I mean, my last 5 videos had a combined 809 views. That was astonishing to me. So, if you're watching, I appreciate it. And feel free to subscribe. But today, this is a topic I had months ago, I guess, weeks ago. After I made the first video, I actually got this idea, but I've never put it on video. So, I had to think about it the other day. I was like, oh yeah, there's that one I forgot to do. But if you're, taking a good look at our society, injustice, then it ain't hard for you to figure out that people want to live contrary to how God commands them to live. I mean, plain and simple, God has told us, this is what I say is right, this is what I say is wrong. And people, if they know that and it's in here, they don't want to do it. I want to do what I want to do. I know I've mentioned this in several videos, but it is just man's sinful nature to live contrary to God, even if he thinks he's not. I know a lot of people, well, not a lot. I mean, I know some people who, they don't live really any different than the world. But, they post some spiritual stuff on their Facebook every now and then and think they're all good to go. But whatever. But like I'm saying, the world don't want to live like God wants them to live. They just don't like that kind of authority, and it's just human nature. That's what it is. But here's what they don't realize that I wish they did realize. Here's a story for you in relation to this. If you men remember during Middle Ages, I think it was the Middle Ages, I probably should have done a little bit more history on this, but when bubonic plague, the Black Death, broke out, and it was sweeping Europe, and it was killing off people, all kind of people. But one of the people who was least affected by it, not unaffected at all, but least affected by it, was Jews. And they used to get mobbed and lynched and killed because people was like, well, we're sick and they're not sick, so it must be their fault that we're sick. They must be cursing us, whatnot, so forth. But really, I think modern day historians and whatnot would tell you the reason the Jews weren't as affected by it is because the Old Testament law. You remember the Old Testament laws? You should not eat this, you should not eat that, you should not touch this, you should not touch that, if you touch this, and on and on and on. And we look at that, and we're like, man, glad I'm not a Jew, so I ain't got to do all that. Yeah, well, because of them having to keep those rituals of being clean and stuff, they didn't get as affected by the Black Death as the rest of Europe did. Because, like, rats carried the disease, not allowed to touch any rats. they would go around picking up dead bodies of people, which is already unsanitary, especially in today's time. But Jews weren't allowed to touch a dead body. Dead bodies are unclean. You're not allowed to touch them. And but look where that got them. I mean, yeah, people attacked them and stuff because they thought, y'all are cursing us. You're the reason we got a plague. But the majority of them were survived because they kept the rituals of cleanliness. Not intermarrying with other people and so on and so forth. So we look at the rules that God had put on them and we go, oh man, I'm glad I ain't got to do that. But look what it got them. It helped them. And that's the same thing I'm trying to tell you that this book, people today don't want to live by this book. They want nothing to do with this book because it's backwards, old. It restricts what I want to do. Yeah, it does, but it'll save you from some things. I mean, people can shake their head and be like, oh, I'm glad I'm not a Christian. I ain't got to live by all them silly rules they got to live by. Yeah, but in the long run, these silly rules are going to save us from some things. Like someone's like, well, I couldn't be a Christian because I like to do this. Well, doing that leads to certain things that are bound to happen that are not good. Like, I'm glad I'm not a Christian because then I couldn't just go sleep with whoever I wanted to. Well, you could get unexpectedly pregnant. You could get an STD. But a Christian that's following the rules ain't got to worry about that. So you see, God has our best interest in mind when he put the book together the way he did. And like it says in one of the most popular verses, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. God only wants what's best for us. Now, because we're humans, and he's God, and we're never going to be able to fathom what he's up there doing and thinking, and we just can't. But he knows, like I was just listening, I heard a good statement earlier, I was listening to Matt Chandler. He's like, the future is not a place that God knows about. Like we always go, oh, God knows what's in the future. The future is not a place God knows about. It's a place he is. He's there already. And I was thinking the same could be said about the past. The past is not a place where God has been. He's there now. He's in the past, he's in the present, he's in the future. Because he exists outside of time. So, when we sit there and tell him, you don't know what's best for me, I'm going to do my thing. I know you're telling me the God that created everything out of nothing and exists outside of time. You're telling me he don't know what's best for you. And we might look at these stuff that's in his book and be, oh man, that's no fun, I don't want to do that. He knows what's best for you. He is looking out for you. It might not look like it to you, but he is. And sometimes, as a Christian, it might not look like it to me, but he is. Like it says, Daniel chapter 4:35, and all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? It is not my place for me to ask God, why are you doing this? I mean, not that people don't say that already. But, like it says, no one can stay his hand or say unto him, why doest thou? I can't stop him. He's going to do what he wants to do. And really the best place to be is just go along with him. do his will, do what he's asked you to do. He knows that if you do what he's asked you to do, it'll turn out great for you. And if you don't, it'll turn out bad for you. But some people, odds are not going to care. They're just going to do what they want to do. They think they got to figure it out themselves, and maybe they do got to figure it out themselves. But if you follow God's will, the plan he's got laid out, and keeping his commandments, he knows what's best for you. It'll work out to your advantage. Or you keep doing what you want to do, thinking that you know better for your life than the person who created it, and see what I get you. Thanks for joining me today. My lunch break's over and I gotta go back to work. So, till next time, take up thy cross and carry on.